Welcome to my Vision News, Thursday's first video. First news story is about Jawar's warning to Ethiopian government. Jawar Mohammed, who is not in Ethiopia these days, he was in Kenya a few days ago. Before that, he was in Germany. He warned government against silencing of student protests, which are still ongoing in Oromia. Today is day 4 of these demonstrations. Secondly, a few hours ago in a video, I shared a picture of some Oromia police officials protesting. Several viewers contacted me. Old picture. The picture is not related to ongoing demonstration, but some other videos and pictures are being shared showing Ethiopian security forces expressing their views about protests, about massacre of civilians. We have a clip for you of ENDF soldiers in which they can be seen throwing off their uniforms and protesting. Thirdly, viewers, Ethiopian Supreme Court President is offering to resign. Meaza Ashenafi. Reportedly, efforts are being made for mediation between Meaza Ashenafi and government. What is the reason? And lastly, viewers, we know that next week in US-Africa summit is going to start with participation of all African countries which have been invited by US government. Two countries have not been invited. One is a country, other is a self-declared country. We have details for you. Eritrea not invited, and Somaliland, details for you. Firstly, Jawar Mohammed is warning the government that the government must not launch any crackdown on students who are expressing their views peacefully in Oromia. We know that after weekends civilian killings in Vailega, protests erupted across Oromia. Today is day 4 of these demonstrations, and before recording this video, I received latest update that protests are still ongoing in Oromia. In Holata, there was a protest today, Holata town. At Oda Bultam University, there was a protest today, and in some other places too. So, day 4, student protests, Oromo protests continuing. What did Jawar say? Jawar said, students are protesting peacefully. They're not resorting to violence. They're expressing their views peacefully. So their views, their questions should be addressed by the government. Any attempt to arrest them will invite danger. Student protests are like fire. Use the word fire. So government should listen to the demands of students. Firstly, I used the word war 2 days ago in a video. Just like Jawar is using the word fire for protests. This is called metaphorical use of words. I did not say that Jawar and Bakale Garba had taken up arms against the government. I said they declared war on the government, meaning thereby that they were planning, they were starting anti-government movement. I never said that Jawar was going to launch an armed resistance against the government. Though Bakale Garba said in his interview that era of peaceful struggle was over. So he was implying that he was supportive of armed struggle. So Jawar said that student protests are like fire. Jawar is not in Ethiopia, so he's not leading these protests. Same is the case with Bakle Garba. They're abroad, that is why perhaps they're speaking in a forceful manner, and they're trying to mobilize youth. No doubt about that. Jawar, Bakle Garba, Oromo Liberation Army, OLF, all are trying to start a sort of student street movement against the government. Can it succeed? That remains to be seen. Without leaders being in Ethiopia, how can this movement succeed? It's difficult. There must be someone to lead the movement. OLF leadership is in prison. OFC leadership, two vice presidents out of Ethiopia. So who will lead the movement? So far, we cannot say that government is trying to silence these protests. Yes, in some cases, there were clashes between protesters and security officials, like at Adama University. Overall, protests have been allowed to be carried out by Oromia regional government. Why? Because Oromia regional government, Ethiopian federal government, they'll try to use these protests against Amhara hardliners who support arming of civilians in Valega, arming of Amhara ethnic group members in Valega. Secondly, viewers, a few hours ago in a video, I shared a picture of Oromia police members protesting, old picture, but that was being shared by several top Oromo activists and politicians as well. So that is why we shared with you that picture without proper verification, which should have been done. Old picture, but security forces are part of, in some cases, they are part of these demonstrations. Video of two ENDF members is being shared by Amharic news sources. The two ENDF members are protesting with a song in the background played with lyrics. How can you sit quietly when we are being slaughtered? Won't you stand up? Lyrics of the song. And the two ENDF members are throwing off their clothing, their uniform. That is what is being criticized, that ENDF members should be impartial. They shouldn't be part of any protest movement. They shouldn't be part of any social media campaign. We could see departmental action against these two ENDF officials. Watch the video of the two ENDF members. Thirdly, viewers, Ethiopian Supreme Court President Meaza Ashenafi is willing to resign. She has offered to resign. Talks are underway between Meaza Ashenafi and Ethiopian federal government. Why is she resigning? She's complaining that political interference and police response to court orders are two main causes. Immense political interference in judicial affairs, and secondly, police does not obey court orders. So that is why she says that it's better to resign. Now, firstly, what I have seen in the last 3 years is that Ethiopian judiciary is just a rubber stamp for the decisions of Ethiopian federal government. Government is strong, judiciary is extremely weak. We have seen judges granting bail to activists in this year, last year. Police did not obey court orders. Police violated court orders. Police does not take accused to courts whenever police wants to ensure that the arrested persons are kept in custody for longer periods of time. So police violates court's orders, no doubt about that. Why? Because Ethiopian security Institutions and Ethiopian government, they're hand in glove. They are working in collaboration. So they challenge judicial decisions. Meaza is frustrated, and that is why she wants to resign. Ethiopia needs independent judiciary, a country where media is under pressure, where opposition parties are not allowed to work freely. The country needs an independent judiciary which can work without any pressure from the government. Lastly, viewers, Eritrea and Somaliland have been excluded from the upcoming US-Africa summit in Washington from the 13th of December till the 15th of December next week. US-Africa summit will be held. There are 54 members of African Union. 49 have been invited. 49 heads of state have been invited for this summit. Mali, Sudan, Burkina Faso and Guinea are suspended. These 4 countries were suspended by African Union because there were coups or attempted coups there. So they were not, their heads of state were not invited. 4 countries. Eritrea not invited. Perhaps the only country in Africa which is not suspended by African Union, but it has not been invited by US. US says that it does not have full diplomatic relations with Eritrea, though we know that US shock affairs has been working in Eritrea, and Eritrean ambassador is also appointed to US. But Eritrea has been under US sanctions. It is one of the key friends and allies of Russia and China. We have seen that in recent months that at UN Security Council, UN General Assembly, not Security Council, at UN General Assembly, Human Rights Council sessions, Eritrea stood with Russia, not with Ukraine, backed by US. At all sessions, Eritrea voted in support of Russia. Eritrea is a close ally of Russia and China. That is why uninvited to this conference. Somaliland not invited to. Somaliland is self-declared country, not recognized by any country, any organization, international platform of the world. That is why uninvited, because had Somaliland been invited, Somalia would have refused to attend the summit. So to Somaliland, Eritrea uninvited. Who will attend the summit from Ethiopia? The invitation was for head of state. Ethiopian head of state is president, but president can send prime minister. Prime minister can participate on behalf of president. So will PM Abiy go there or Salework president? That remains to be seen. Thank you for watching.